Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom this evening on the evening portion of our Shabbat. It's me and the live audience this evening. We had some other things we had to take care of with our 4 to 5 people. So we'll go ahead without further ado and start this off with prayer. Dear Abiyah, we thank you again for another Shabbat. We thank you for your word. We thank you for loving us. We thank you for waking us up, Father. We thank you for the 12 tribes of Israel. We thank you for those that are grafted in among us, Father. We thank you that we're in a wonderful time of the awakening and getting ready as we see the signs and prophecies that you've already foretold a long time ago being fulfilled right before our very eyes. In your set apart precious name, we do pray and give thanks. It is so, it is so, it is so. All right, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get into it. And the title of the message this evening is called The Bourne Identity. And I know it sounds like a movie that is actually out there, the Bourne Identity series. And we're going to kind of go into that and look at some of the things even in that movie that pertains to us as a people. There's a book or movie series about a character named Jason Bourne, as we talked about before. This fictional character is the most dangerous assassin that was made by a black ops wing, or for those that don't know about it, black operations, or spec ops, who happens to have memory loss or amnesia of who he is. He doesn't know what his identity is. He has to piece together his memories while being tracked down by the very group he worked for because they fear him, even in his broken state, even without him knowing who he truly is, without his identity, they still fear him because he's still formidable. And the thing is, why they're trying to keep him from actually finding out who he really is because once he finds out who he is, then he also knows what he was a part of and who those people that played a part in him being what he was, what they are, and then he'll go ahead and blow the whistle, or he'll go and wage war against them. So the whole point, or the whole premise of that whole series is basically a man who has lost his identity. He doesn't remember who he is, doesn't remember himself. He's tracking down and looking for pieces to find out, who am I? What is my identity? What is my real name? Who am I really? Because he needs to have a reference point to come back from. And so everybody that played a part in him becoming what he is, now we don't want him to find out because once he finds out, it's going to be all bad for us. So you see the repercussions of that even when you look at us as a nation of people, Israel, with both the 10 northern kingdoms, or 10 northern tribes, which was the kingdom of Israel, and then the 2 with us. Yehuda that had Benjamin and also Louis with us, which is the southern kingdom of Yehuda. And so the thing is, they're trying to keep us from being able to identify with who we are. That's why they did all the things that they've done to us, as we'll go deeper and further into this. When the Ruach reminded me of this movie the other day, I wasn't thinking about it. He just brought it back into my spirit because I like that type of stuff. He brought it into my spirit and put the attention on showing me that this is actually what true, and I'm using the term true Israel because we know that there are imposters. We know that there are identity thieves that have been stealing who we are for centuries. And the main character reminds me of us as a people. And the main character, our protagonist, his name is Jason Bourne. Now, we've been victims of memory loss / amnesia ourselves as well, as I said before. And we've been searching to find our own identity. That's why a lot of us get into timid Pan-Africanism. People are consider themselves Nubians, Nuwabians, Egyptians. They get into Islam. They do the 5%ers. Some of them go into the Baha'i religion, Christian. They go into all these other different things. Or anything that has any sense of quote-unquote black empowerment. They say, okay, well, it has black on it. Or it has something that's dealing with Africa. So that means it's about us. And they still don't know who they are. Because they're not those things that they're looking to try to find an identity in. When you try to make something your identity, you're still lost. You still don't know who you are. Just because it might look like what you want it to be. And sometimes we just choose anything that's different from the state that we see that we're in. That's why you even have some people that choose to act as if they're Gentiles. Or the Euro-Gentiles. Or somebody else's culture. Because they haven't been able to identify with who they are. And that speaks to nobody else but us. Israelites, also known as the Negroes, all across the world. We're the only ones that fit that. we're trying to piece together who we are as well. And while we're trying to do that, we've also been given misinformation, just like the character or the protagonist in the Born Identity series. And while we're also trying to seek, those of us that have seek and have found some type of thing, we're also being hunted down, just like the fictional character, the fictional character that's in that movie, that series. We're being hunted down, we're being executed. They're trying to apprehend us to see what we know, see what we're going to tell before they terminate us. And so the thing is, we're doing the same thing. There are many of our people, and there's even been Gentiles that have been fighting this fight to open up and awaken us and seeing what's really going on. Why is everything happening to us the way it's happening to us? And to keep the message, to keep the information from getting out, they're also being killed too. There are a whole bunch of black ops sites that you don't know about all across the world, where many people that are finding information that they don't want you to find out are being taken. Not all of them are being terminated. Some of them are just being housed, being tortured, all these other different things, basically to keep them shut down from being able to give anybody else knowledge or what's really true about us. Follow me. Just like in the movie, we also see that there's a network of worldwide agencies fighting to keep us from finding the truth of who we are, while tracking our movements and sending out quote-unquote assets, which are other people that apprehend or other assassins, things like that. I'm going to use some terminology you might not understand if you haven't had any military background or anything like that. But they basically send out assets to either apprehend us and those people that are helping us, those grafted in or those Gentiles that love Yah and know who we are and want everybody to know what's really going on. They apprehend them to get the necessary information, or if necessary, by any means necessary, they will get assets to come out and to terminate us, to keep us quiet. Because once it starts, it's going like fire. We already see now that there's a great awakening that's already started. And it's going to continue to happen. That's why we see the things that have been happening to us happening now. I just found out that another brother was found floating in somewhere in Missouri, some major national park or something like that in the country. And it reeks of foul play. But, you know, they're not going to give us all the information. There's other different people that are getting killed. All these other mysterious things that are happening is because the awakening is coming up, and so they got to do everything they can to shut it down and shut us down. And so they'll have assets to quote-unquote do what's known as wet work. When you look at the name Jason, and of course Jason is a Greek word, a Greek name, and it's actually pronounced Iason because there was no J's back then. J's didn't come about till about maybe 600 or so years later on. That wasn't what we had during our time. That wasn't even what the Greeks. So for those that still want to say no Jesus and Jehovah and all that other stuff, you've been given some information. Now the name Jason or Iason is a variation of Greek, and Ibri, or as you know, is Hebrew. Jason in Greek means to heal, and it means healer. And that's actually a variant of a Greek name that you know as Jesus, or what it was actually pronounced was Iesus. Iesus, kind of close to what the Hispanics call when they say Jesus. It's Iesus is what the original Greek was for that name that a lot of you use. The name Iesus, or Jesus as you know it, is the Greek variant of the Ibri or Hebrew word, or Hebrew name, excuse me, Yehoshua, which you would know today in English transliteration as Joshua. But it's actually pronounced Yehoshua in our name, which is close to Yahoshua, who is our HaMashiach. But Yehoshua means Yah is salvation, or Yah saves. It reminds me of a Ronald Winans, no, not Marvin, it was Marvin Winans' song, Jesus Saves. A lot of people say Jesus saves. No, it's not Jesus saves, it's Yah saves. Or Yahoshua, if you want to say the one who's a Mashiach saves. The name Jesus in the Greek, again, is a variation of Yehoshua. When looking at the name Born, it is a name that originated from England, and that means one who lives near a stream, one who lives near a body of water. Throughout our history, Israel has always been by a body of water or had a water source, even out in the wilderness. How many times did Moshe have to smite a rock or hit a rock and water will come out? What did they cross through when they left Mitzrayim? They left and crossed through a large body of water. Yah always made sure that there was some type of water source around because we need water, what? To live. And he is the living water. Correct? All right. So when you look at the English transliteration of the name born, it means one who lives near a stream. Shepherds also always make sure that their flock is near a stream. And we know that Yehoshua is the shepherd. And people like myself and other leaders, Ra'az, which is shepherd in our language, or you can call it pastor for those that are in King Jimmy land. We are called to what? Feed the flock and keep the flock by a place of water where they can refresh themselves, where they can get nourishment from the water, correct? It's no coincidence that the character Jason Bourne, or I like that I put as Yah is salvation / healer, who lives near a stream, was a name that was given and also changed by the handlers of the protagonist because his name wasn't Jason Bourne originally in the movie. They changed it. This was not done by accident, but was done as a mockery. So even, and I don't believe that the writer that wrote the books that the movies came from thought that deep into it or really realized. I believe that he received something spiritually from something and put that in there. But that was really a mockery of us. Because again, the greatest secret is they know who we are. The biggest joke is they know who we are. The scripture said that we would be a byword, we would be mocked, we would be despised. So hopefully you get that. The beginning of the reading, as we're about to go into our scripture now, because I did something different this time. I didn't start off with the script. I gave a little interlude or introduction, as you will. Now we're about to get into what the script says about all this. Zechariah chapter 10. We're going to read all 12 verses in chapter 10 of Zechariah. And it reads, Ask Yahweh for rain in the time of the latter rain. Yahweh who makes storm clouds, and he gives them showers of rain, the plants in the field to everyone. For the household idols spoke emptiness. The diviners saw falsehood and relate dreams of deceit. They comfort in vain, therefore they have wandered about like sheep. They are afflicted, for there is no shepherd. My wrath burns against the shepherds, and I lay a charge against the leaders. For Yahweh of hosts shall visit his flock, the house of Yehudah, and make them like his splendid horse in battle. From him comes the cornerstone, from him the tent peg, from him the battle bow, from him every ruler together. And they shall be like mighty men who trample down the mud of the streets in the battle. And they shall fight because Yahweh is with them. And the riders on horses shall be put to shame. And I shall make the house of Yehudah mighty and save the house of Joseph. And I shall bring them back because I have compassion on them. And they shall be as though I had not pushed them aside. For I am Yahweh their Elohim, and I answer them. And Ephraim shall be as a mighty man, and their heart shall rejoice as if it was with wine. And their children shall see and rejoice, their heart exulting in Yahweh. I shall whistle for them, and gather them, for I shall ransom them. And they shall increase as they once increased. Though I sow them among peoples, they shall remember me in places far away. And they shall live together with their children, and they shall return. And I shall bring them back from the land of Mitzrayim, and gather them from Ashur, and bring them into the land of Gilead and Lebanon, until no more room is found for them. And he shall pass through the sea of distress, and strike the waves of the sea, and all the depths of the river shall dry up. And the pride of Ashur shall be brought down, and the scepter of Mitzrayim be taken away. And I shall make them mighty in Yahweh, so that they walk up and down in his name, declares Yahweh. Hallelujah. I want to go back to verse 9. Though I sow them among peoples, they shall remember me in places far away, and they shall live together with their children, and they shall return. The born identity. Let's get deeper. In the beginning of the reading, Yah saying through his prophet Zechariah, Ask Yah for rain. And the Hebrew word for rain is matar. M-A-T-A-R, matar. And the Strong's Concordance number is 4306. It's also good if you can get a hold of a Hebrew ancient lexicon, because that's even better. It gives you a little deeper insight. It also shows you the original ways it was written. So again, the word for rain is matar. And he says, as for the matar in the time of Malkosh, which is latter rain or spring rain. And Malkosh is Hebrew number 4456. 4456 is spelled M-A-L-Q-O-S-H, Malkosh. And he gives rain to everyone. Now again, remember what the name born, I told you at the beginning, is the name born means one who lives near a stream. And automatically already call for water. Just ask me. Ask me for a matar, for rain, in the time of the latter rain / spring rain. And I'll give it. Give it to the plants, I'll give it to you. Next we see that the household idols, also known as teraphim, and the Hebrew number in Strong's is 8655. Teraphim means family idols, household idols, idolatry. Remember when it was Mother Rachel, she took her father Laban's household idols, his teraphim, and she hid them. Because she didn't know about Yah yet. She just going with her husband, Jacob, and her sister Leah. And so she said, I want to take something that makes me feel confident, something that makes me feel safe, something that was my father's. You get that? So something that belonged to my father was his, it was good enough for him, and he taught me to trust in these things. I'm going to take his things, the family idols, generational curses, if you will, in a sense as well. And so what did Laban do? Just go back to that real quick. What did Laban do? When he found out that it was stolen, then he followed after them, seeking after Jacob, saying, why did you steal my God? Why did you steal my teraphim? Look it up in the book. I'm not going to tell you the actual chapter. Just look it up. Or you should know. Some of you should know that. I don't want to say story, but that account, that experience, that's a lot better. And so you look at it in here, he was saying that the same issue was happening even in the people, amongst the people that are his people, the chosen people. See that the household idols, teraphim, and the diviners are Qasam, Qasam, Q-A-S-A-M, Qasam, 7080, Hebrew number in Strong, 7080, spoke emptiness and saw falsehoods, relating deceitful dreams and vain comforts. And that's in verse 2 of our lesson, which we've already read. This is the misinformation that those who are part of this network of agencies against Yah and his people will put out to keep you blind and away from your identity that only comes from Yah. Again, when you look at it, household idols, that's not of Yah. The things that your father worshiped, like alcohol, promiscuity, fornication, adultery, incest, anger, murder, stealing, lying, those types of things. And the emptiness that was spoken by the diviners, people that work in witchcraft. Witchcraft people are always going to tell you a deceitful dream. It might have a little truth to it because they have some type of access spiritually because they're getting their stuff from demonic presences. But the thing is, they'll give you something and you pattern your life around it, and then when it looks like it's working, then you believe that they actually have the inside tip when they don't. They went based solely off your belief. Anybody that goes off of horoscopes and all that other stuff, you pattern your life off of what a devil said through a human being. And then you say, oh, well, my life is lining up. How's everybody that's quote-unquote born at the same time, everybody that's born around that time, all y'all's stuff is supposed to line up the same way? That's not a Yah. It's custom made. What he has for you is for you, not for everybody else that's born at the same time as you, or the same month as you, same day as you. Come on, let's put our thinking caps on. Again, they do these things to give us misinformation to keep us from finding out who we are. You know, you got all these Egyptologists, or that's more a word that the Gentiles made up. You got all these Kemet people. They're telling you, oh no, we need to follow under the Ankh and all these other different things, and you are gods and goddesses and all that other mess. And a lot of people, because they're looking for identity, a person that's broken, you want to find something that makes you feel like you're strong. That makes you feel like, yes, you know, I'm a king, I'm a god or a goddess, I'm all these other different things, and that's still falsehood. Because there's none but Yah. We are his chosen, those of us that are Israelites. We are his chosen. But again, the scripture says he chose not because we were the greatest, because we were the least. Not because we were all that, he chose because that's who he chose. That's all you need to know. And instead, you're taking an identity that somebody gives you or fabricates for you because you like how that sounds and how it makes you feel, instead of whether it's actually true or not. And so that's how they get a lot of us to be drawn in. So a lot of brothers are following Farrakhan and 5% and all these other different people because they're showing them some type of sign of strength, some type of authority, or some type of having some confidence within who you are, even though that's not who you truly are. You with me? We've been blinded. We've been kept away from our identity because we've also been taken from our Yah. That's one of the main things that they made sure by fully getting our identity out of our minds and us knowing who we are was they took our Yah. And it's not so much that they took him from us, it's so much more that we gave him up. We gave him up by following all these other different things, or i.e. going into the program of the world. And when we did that, the one that gives us our identity, gives us and lets us know of who we are and who we are in him, when we lost that, we lost everything. And thus, everything started to unravel for us. Again, we were blind, we became like blind shepherds. The blind leading the blind. And what does Scripture say? When the blind lead the blind, they both fall into a ditch. Because of that, we were afflicted, as Scripture says, because there is no shepherd. And that was the end of verse 2. They are afflicted, for there is no shepherd. There is no shepherd, or there is no ra'ah, which is Hebrew number 7462 and strong. Yah's anger burns against the shepherds, burns against the people that he has called to tend his sheep, because when you look at a lot of us, we haven't tended to his sheep correctly. We've been too busy living off the sheep, doing what we wanted to do, not actually taking care of them, not doing what we were called to do. It's been all about us. My name getting out there, me getting the nice cars, the nice threads, all these other different things. Look at me, instead of being about the people. Again, as I've told you before, shepherds, all we are, those in ministry, those in leadership, all we are, glorified waiters. That's all we are. And we never should forget that. And so he's mad at them. Because the people that are supposed to be serving, i.e. ministering to the flock, they're not doing it. So not only does his anger burn against those of us shepherds that aren't doing what we're supposed to do, but he also lays charge against the leaders. And the every word for leaders that was used in this text was attud, A-T-T-U-D. A-T-T, Alpha, Tango, Uniform, Delta. A-T-T-U-D, which is pronounced attud. And it's Hebrew number 6260 in Strong's. And what that means for leaders is goats. Male goats, leaders. So he's mad at the leaders, i.e. the goats are male goats. And said, and he will visit / appoint his flock of the house of Yehudah. Not the church, not the denominations, or the quote-unquote non-denominations, because non-denominations is still a denomination as well. Not any of these false religions. Yehudah. Not spiritual Israel. Not spiritual Yehudah, the actual tribe of his chosen people of Yehudah, which is also considered the southern kingdom. So we even say the kingdom of Yehudah, He says he will visit or appoint his flock, Yehuda, and make them like his beautiful battle horse. That's verse 3. Line upon line, precept upon precept. Here a little, there a little. Verse 4, Yah says that from Yehuda, the tribe, comes the cornerstone. And who is the cornerstone? Yehoshua HaMashiach, who was from the tribe of Yehuda. He was born out of the tribe of Yehuda when he took on the human form. It also says that from Yehuda comes the tent peg. And we know that the tent peg is what held up the tents that we lived in as nomadic people before we finally had a home known as Israel. If you didn't have a tent peg, you couldn't have your house established. You couldn't have your tent up. The tent peg also kept up the tent of appointment or tent of dwelling, which is also known as a tabernacle, before King Shlomo, or Solomon as you know, was allowed to actually build Yah a physical temple. You with me? So not only out of Yehuda comes salvation or comes the Mashiach, but also out of Yehuda comes the tent peg, the thing that holds everything together. The other tribes are waiting on us, Yehuda. It's been prophesied that when Yehuda raises up and when we roar, because we are the lion tribe, Lion, not Lying, like we become, then all our tribes, everybody's going to hear, all 12 tribes are going to hear and going to raise up. That's why they keep a muzzle on you. That's why they made sure that we were dispersed and scattered all over the world, to keep us from all coming together and consolidating so we can roar, shout, so all our brothers and sisters can hear. We hold this thing up also because we are of the royal tribe. The kings come out of the tribe of Yehuda until the split because of sin. And the tent peg, the Hebrew word for tent peg is Yathed, Y-A-T-H-E-D. Yathed is 3489 Strong's, the Hebrew number of Strong's Concordance. And what Yathed means is peg, stake, pin, nail, paddle. Again, when you think about stake or nail, we already know that it holds things up, but again, it's a depiction of Yehoshua HaMashiach. So no matter how many times someone wants to tell you that he's not real, he's man-made, he's the Euro-Gentiles fabrication, all through Scripture. This whole thing, because he is the Word. He was considered the Word made flesh when he came in human form. And you can't be a prophet unless you speak about him and point to him. Because that's basically your bread and butter right there. That's the whole point of you being a prophet, is to speak about him. Who he is, what he says, what his father, Abba Yah, our father, as well, says. Just to throw that in there. And not only is it a depiction of the Mashiach, but again, it's also a depiction of us. What did they put in his hands and his feet when he was on that stake with the cross name? Stakes. Nails, if you will, pegs, and he held us all up. Because the weight of sin was too heavy for us. We couldn't lift anything up. Thus, that's why I had to go to the priest, the high priest, and he had to atone for them each year, which means that it wasn't going to be good enough. But when Yehoshua did it, he held up the whole building. He held up the whole tip for all of us. And also made sure the veil was rent. So we can come to Yah ourselves now. Because we're being held up by the peg known as Yehoshua. And I just want to reiterate that so that we remember we really need to look at him for who he is and who he is to us. That's also, again, how we will find out our identity. When you see just how special you are to him. Then it also says from Yehuda, the battle bow, which is a weapon. We are a weapon. Why do you think they fight us so much? Especially in this country. Why do they fight us so much? And our brothers and sisters that's from our tribe of Yehuda, that's in the Sudan, which basically is a play up for Yehuda. And all around in the West African areas. What do you think They're fighting. Why are they afraid? Why is the cop afraid? You don't have anything. You're unarmed. He has weapons. He has all types of things. He, quote unquote, has the authority or the law of the land, and yet he fears you. Notice it took a whole village. It took a whole bunch of people when they did the lynchings to get one or two of us to hang us, burn us, do all these different things. It took a whole bunch of them to rape our women and kill them. It took a whole bunch of them to do all these other different things. Why did it take a whole bunch for people that were supposedly inferior? Unless there was a reason why they feared you, because Scripture even says that they will dread us and they will fear us as well as hate us. So think about that. Open your mind up to see your identity. When you read it and study it and get an understanding. Wake up. Yehuda is the battle bow or weapon. And also from Yehuda, the rulers are Nagas. N-A-G-A-S. Nagas. Hebrew Strong's Concordance number 5065. Now when we look at verses 5 through 8, it brings more insight into who Yisrael really is and who they are to Yah, or who we are, I should say, to Yah, giving us our identity and reminding us of who we are in Him and who He is to us. Yah says that He will make the house of Yehuda mighty. Now, in fact, let's read that again in verse 5. And they shall be like mighty men who trample down the mud of the streets in the battle. And they shall fight because Yahweh is with them, and the riders on horses shall be put to shame. So He will make the house of Yehuda mighty. As we already see, He's starting to do that with us again. He will save the house of Yosef, Uncle Yosef. He will save his house. And the house of Uncle Yosef, he had two sons. Manasseh, which was the oldest, and Ephraim, which was the youngest. But Ephraim was the one that ended up being put over Manasseh at the behest of Yosef. He was upset when Father Israel did that. But it was for a reason. He will bring them back and have compassion as if He never pushed us aside, and He will answer us. Not denominations, not Roman Catholicism, i.e. Christianity, whether you're Protestant or Catholic, not all these other weird religions that's out there. No. His chosen people, which means He never forgot us. Don't be upset. This is truth. And I'm not saying it to hurt anybody's feelings, but let Yah be true and every man a lie. Hallelujah. He will answer us. Then next you look, it says Ephraim. Yes, Ephraim was a tribe, again, as we said, which was the youngest son of Uncle Yosef. But when it's using Ephraim, also, Ephraim signifies or resembles the 10 northern tribes, or the northern kingdom, if you will, of Israel. They use that Ephraim and Israel as interchangeable between the two each time, because Israel, actually Ephraim, was the largest and strongest out of the kingdom of Israel, or better yet, out of the 10 tribes. He was the largest and the strongest, so that's why a lot of times it says Ephraim when it's meaning Israel. And also when you look at it, said that Ephraim will no longer envy Yehuda. The younger brother will no longer envy the older brother, and the older brother won't be a certain kind of way toward Ephraim. Means that Yehuda and Israel, all 12 tribes, will come back together and love each other like we were meant to. Ephraim will be like a mighty man with a rejoicing heart, and their children will see and rejoice with a heart exalting Yah. Not anybody else, but exalting Yah. Yah will call for us and gather us and ransom or rescue/redeem us, and we shall increase, or Rabbah. So you just like, a lot of you probably heard Rabbah when you're saying Toda Rabbah, right? And Rabbah means bring in abundance, multiply, make much, plenty, etc. And the Hebrew Strong's Concordance number is 7235 for Rabbah. 7235. In these verses, Yah is reminding His people of their peculiarity and how special they are to Him. He is giving them their identity so that they will remember that it came from him and is because of him from their downtrodden state. When we disobey Yah, my parents always told me obedience is better than sacrifice. When we disobey, we sacrifice. We have to pay for it. We reap what we sow. And our ancestors did a very bad thing. Kept on running away from Yah, away from his program, and got into the world's program. And look at where they got us. And we can't be upset with them because we do the same thing today. We do the same thing. And I believe that if we had been in their shoes, we would have did the same thing that they've done because we had it in us. We just wanted to, our people just wanted to be disobedient, stiff-necked. Look at how my ancestors acted when he got us out of Mitzrayim, the first one. Look how quickly they went into the golden calf experience. Look how quickly they murmured, did all these other different things. They were too busy worrying about the things that didn't matter instead of following what Yah told them, following his commands, following the quote-unquote wedding vows, which is known as the Ten Commandments, following his statutes and precepts, following his Torah. But didn't want to follow that program. And just like they did back then, we still see it happening even in our time. But even in the midst of this, Yah's still giving identity. He's like, I know that they're going to read this and something's going to click and they're going to understand. Because I told them they will. In a faraway place. I told them that they will when they're not away from home. One day, it's going to come back to their mind. This isn't who I am. The way I'm living, this isn't me. The way I'm dressing, this isn't me. No, it's like a person, a man that swears up and down he's in the wrong skin. He was meant to be a woman. And vice versa, a woman that felt that she was supposed to be a man. Because sin gets in and they think that that's right when we know it's wrong. Yes, I said it's wrong. Scripture says it's wrong. I don't care how you feel about it. Truth is truth. Again, let Yah be true. Every man a lie. And many of them have actually come out of that and realized, hey, this isn't who I am. This doesn't feel right. I can't lie to myself anymore. This is not how I was made. And then they start searching and seeking and coming to themselves and getting out of that dirty, nasty, stinking, muck and marry place and state. And they come back to themselves. And they say, you know what, I got to be obedient to what the hierarchy was, the natural hierarchy was of what he meant for me to be. I have to be true to that. When I'm true to him, I will be true to my identity of what he made me. And that's how we have to be. We have to stop saying, you know, this, I'm going to be something that I think makes me feel good. I want to be what I want to be. Based on all these different categories that people give me, I'm going to pick and choose what I want instead of accepting what Yah has for me. Another reason why we lost our identity. Another reason why we, quote unquote, got amnesia for centuries. We lost who we were when we lost Yah. But he said, I will remind you. Somebody going to get this in 2015. I was listening to a brother say 2015 was a big year for awakening for a lot of us. And there was some that came in early, and there's some that's coming now. And the thing is, he said, they're going to see this. I got a shepherd that's going to just talk about this. I'm going to have shepherds that's talking about this, and they're going to bring it to light so that they can get back to their born identity. In verse 9, hallelujah, he says, although he scattered us among the peoples, which is other nations, we will remember him in far away places, and we will live together with our children and all return to him. We see the theme of Yah's people remembering their true identity while they're in captivity across the world, not in a couple little countries in Europe. I got to throw that out there. Where they were never captives. Where they were never sold as slaves. Where they never built houses that they couldn't live in. And grow grapes, all these other different things that they couldn't receive of. They didn't get to have to deal with sharecropping. They didn't have to deal with lynching. They didn't have to deal with the injustice or just us system. They didn't have to deal with all the purges that's even up to today. They didn't have to deal with any of that. They didn't have to deal with losing their children, having their children taken away from them. homes being broke, all those different things. They didn't have to deal with what the scripture said would happen to true Yisrael, to Yah's chosen people. So again, identity. When you don't know who you are, for a split second, let's go to that. An identity thief, you know how they're able to be successful? Is they steal your identity and you don't know that it's been stolen. And usually what an identity thief does is they stay close to you. They watch you to make sure that you don't wake up. Because the thing is, if they start seeing that you start looking at your own identifier and start looking at certain things and seeing that there's something wrong, then they know that the jig, quote unquote, is going to be up. So an identity thief takes it without you knowing it. And then they stay close enough to you to make sure that you don't find out. Remember that. Again, we see that while in captivity across the world, the four corners of the earth, is when Yah's people, us, true Israelites, we will start to remember who we are and who he is to us and who we are to him. We even see this theme in the book of Jeremiah, or Jeremiah, for you in King Jimmy land, chapter 51, verse 50. Ezekiel, chapter 6, verse 9, as well as chapter 20, verse 43. And again, read the whole chapter. I tell the people who are fortified spirit, read the whole chapter. Sometimes it's good to read the chapters previous to it, even the chapter afterwards, just so you can get a better understanding. And then after you read it, study it. And then Deuteronomy, or Devarim, chapter 30, verses 1 through 3. And I might read verses 1 through 9. We have time, if you will. Because that's saying something to us that we need to get. Because, yeah, all of us know about Devarim or Deuteronomy 28. Those of us that's been walking this walk for some time. And yes, there's more verses in script than just Deuteronomy 28. That's why we got to study. But even with that, people that try to debunk it still can't debunk it. They look foolish. And you can see, if you really got understanding, all they're doing is lying, trying to give misinformation, as the network agencies will do to keep you from knowing your born identity. All right, Devarim or Deuteronomy chapter 30, starting at verse 1. And it shall be when all these words come upon you, the blessing and the curse, which I have set before you, and you shall bring them back to your heart among all the nations where Yahweh, your Elohim, drives you. Stop for a moment. Because there's identity thieves that swore up and down that to try to prove that they are us when they know they're not, is that, well, the reason why we're being blessed now is because we turned back and we started doing what Yah called for us to do. When the scripture said it ain't going to be like that. It's not going to work like that. You're going to have blessings and cursings. They didn't experience the cursings. You have to experience both blessings and cursings to be the people, not the people. Because what did he say even in here? And it shall be when all these words come upon you, the blessings and the curse, which I have set before you, because Yah knows everything. He already knew that, even though our ancestors said in the first 15 or 14 verses of chapter 28 of Devarim or Deuteronomy, what you say we will do. And he gave all the blessings, and then he knew they weren't going to follow it. So 15 to 68, all the curses. And notice that that's why he gave more of a breakdown of the curses than he did the blessings, because he already knew what we were going to do. So after the blessings and the curses, then he will bring back to our remembrance, back to our mind, back to our heart, while we're among all the nations. Did the identity thieves / imposters get taken to all nations? No. Not the people. Verse 2, and shall turn back to Yahweh your Elohim and obey his voice, according to all that I command you today, with all your heart and with all your being, you and your children. Then Yahweh your Elohim shall turn back your captivity and shall have compassion on you, and he shall turn back and gather you from all the peoples where Yahweh your Elohim has scattered you. Again, do we see the premise? You're going to be captive. When he comes back to return our captivity, that means we are still in a captive state. Look all over the world. There's only one people that's been in perpetual captivity. One people. That people are the people of the book, which all of our enemies from past even up to now has called us. The people of the book. Why do you think they went searching for us in quote unquote Africa, the dark continent? Why do you think everywhere they go, they hunt us down? We can build cities, do well, and then they will always come and get us and destroy it and do what they've done to us all these centuries, because we are, as well as a blessed people, but we also are a cursed people because we lost our identity when we stopped being a part of Yah's program and got with the world's program. Number 4, if any of you are driven out to the farthest part under the heavens, from there Yahweh your Elohim does gather you, and from there he does take you. And Yahweh your Elohim shall bring you to the land which your fathers possessed, and you shall possess it. And he shall do good to you, and increase you more than your fathers. Again, verse 5, let's look at that again. It said, Yah, or Yahweh, our Elohim, he will bring us home. He will bring us back to the land that our fathers had, the land of our fathers. Not the UN. Not a Balfour Agreement. Not a Havara or a Havara Agreement. Not any of these other different agreements that was man-made with other countries that have no right to the land. They can't give you something that they don't own. Only Yah can do that, because Yah is the one that gave the land to his people. Born identity. Remember. Verse 6, and Yahweh your Elohim shall circumcise your heart and the heart of your seed, to love Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart and with all your being, so that you might live. And Yahweh your Elohim shall put all these curses on your enemies and on those who hate you, who persecuted you. Hallelujah. And you shall turn back and obey the voice of Yahweh and do all his commands, which I command you today. And Yahweh your Elohim shall make you have access in all the work of your hand, in the fruit of your body, and in the fruit of your livestock, and in the fruit of your ground for good. For Yahweh turns back to rejoice over you for good, as he rejoiced over your fathers. Elohim, Yahweh shall make you have access in all your work of your hand. So we will actually finally get blessed by the work that we do, instead of somebody else eating off of us and getting blessed. Another reason why they don't want to let you go. Pharaoh didn't want to let them go. Pharaoh today don't want to let us go, because they consume off of what we give, what we do. Now we'll finally be able to eat from the fruit of our hands. We'll finally be able to enjoy the fruit of our body, which is our children. And nobody's going to take our children away from us anymore. Nobody's going to kill our children, and we don't have to look in the streets and see. We won't have to have the wailing women anymore, because our children will be alive and we will be able to enjoy them. We'll be able to enjoy the fruit of our livestock. Whether it's a child, all the different things, we'll be able to enjoy our own property, our things, when we come back to who we are. We remember who we are, because that's why we got everything we got was from our Father, Abiyah. So when we remember ourselves, we come back to ourselves and come back to our Father. Come back to the identity that we were born in. There will be rejoicing. We'll be happy. There will be gladness. There won't be any more of this mess that we've been dealing with. When we begin to realize that we are not what we've been led or misled to believe, and we start looking back and searching, we will remember who we are, and we will start seeking Yah and getting our identity back. We will also see and understand what was done to us and why these agencies have done everything possible to keep us asleep or ignorant of our true identity. Knowing who you are gives you power and takes power away from those who kept you in the dark. Again, knowing who you are gives you power and takes power away from those that kept you in the dark. How do we know? Because a lot of guys, even women, because they didn't have their father. Yes, the mother, I'm not taking anything away from the mother, because we need mothers. But your identity, you get it from your father. And so when you don't have a father present, and the enemy knew that, that's why they played them games on us, from what they did to us in slavery on up till now, that's still happening to us, because that seed has been planted. Is you don't know who you are. That's why a whole bunch of men are acting angry and vengeful just because they don't know who their father is. being raised by a woman who couldn't teach him how to be a man. And so he's enraged. Some men say, well, I want my children to have the father that I didn't have. And they do everything that they can to be a father that they didn't have, to be that male, to give the identity to their children that they didn't receive. And others just hate authority and hate everybody because they don't know who they are, because they don't know their father, who can show them who they are, who can tell them where they come from, why they are the way they are, what they deal with, why they deal with it. So when a person doesn't know who they are, where they come from, look at what they do. Look at us. Are we not downtrodden? Are we not destroyed, as Scripture said about his true chosen people, which is us? And that gives our enemies power. Because we don't know who we are, we can't cry out to our Abba Yah, which is something that they really fear. That's why they're really ramping up on us right now. And it's only going to get harder and hotter. But those that endure to the end. So we got to show that we actually got endurance. We got to keep on fighting the good fight. We got to keep on finding out who we are every day and finding out more about our Abba Yah, so we can know even more about who we are and the richness and the power spiritually and in the natural that he's given to us, that is endowed in us, so that we can utilize it correctly for his name and for his edification and for the edification of each other. We need each other. We all we got. I know it sounds cliche, but we really are all we got. Us and Yah. And those that get adopted into the family. Are you with me? I hope it's good to you. It's good to me. Our identity is tied up in Yah as his chosen people. And without that, we have no identity. And I got some scriptures I want y'all to write down. Just kind of paraphrase some of them. The book of Yeshayahu, or Isaiah, chapter 29, verse 18, and that's saying, and in that day shall the deaf hear the words of the book, and the eyes of the blind shall see out of obscurity and out of darkness. Because when we start waking up to our identity, then our eyes will be open to understanding. Verse 24 in chapter 29 of Isaiah, they also that erred in spirit shall come to understanding, and they that murmured shall learn doctrine. Isaiah chapter 30, verse 20 through 21. And though Yahweh give you the bread of adversity and the water of affliction, yet shall not thy teachers be removed into a corner anymore. But thine eyes shall see thy teachers, and thine ears shall hear a word behind thee, saying, this is the way, walk ye in it, when you turn to the right hand, and when you turn to the left. Let's see if I want to give you a couple others. Write down Isaiah 44, verse 1 through 5. I'm not going to read that one, but you have this stuff for your own study and your own reading. Just fact check me. See if I'm lying. See if I'm telling the truth or not. Ezekiel 39:29. Neither will I hide my face anymore from them, for I have poured out my spirit upon the house of Israel, not the house of such and such missionary, Baptist, Lutheran, Methodist, Episcopalian, evangelical, Catholic, non-denominational, Christian center, all that other stuff. No. The house of Israel, saith Yahweh. Oh, Yoel, chapter 2, verse 27 through 29. Write that down. I'm not going to read it. Zechariah, chapter 12, verse 10. And I will pour upon the house of the weed and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and of supplications, and they shall look upon me, whom they have pierced. Who is that? The patient of? Who is that talking about? Yehoshua HaMashiach. And they shall mourn for him as one mourneth for his only son, and shall be in bitterness for him as one that is in bitterness for his firstborn. We need to cry out for what our ancestors did, not following him, not listening to him, having appeared. Even though it had to happen for our salvation, the fact of how it happened and even why it happened in the first place. Write down the book of Acts, or Maaseh, chapter 2, verse 17 through 18. And then also chapter 29, verses 10 through 12 in Maaseh or Acts. And also look at Corinthian Aleph, or Aleph Corinthian, 1 Corinthians, chapter 2, verse 12. And I'll read that one real quick. Now we have received not the spirit of the world, but the Spirit which is of Yah, that we might know the things that are freely given to us of Yah. And it was freely given only one people, us. Because nobody knows him like we do. That's why it was given to us to understand so that we can help the world understand. So those saying that they can't get in all that other stuff, that's a lie, because Scripture says that we were the ones who was given to everybody. I.e. a nation of kings and priests, royalty, and those that are ministers. We are all to proclaim who Yah is to everyone else. And that's why if you look later on in the Scripture, he said that he made us jealous by giving it to the Gentiles, allowing the Gentiles to be able to get in. So you got all these Gentile mega pastors and all these other good people, and you see how well they're doing. You see how all these Gentiles are living because they're applying in some way some form of Torah, even though it's been kind of jacked up with or tainted with poison and all that other mess that's mixed in with Catholicism and Christianity. But you see what's happened to them when you see that it was for you. That's another thing. You start waking up, you're like, hold on, why am I downtrodden? Why am I the least? Why am I the tail instead of the head? And then when you start actually searching and studying, and being like Jason Bourne trying to find out who he is, you're like, hold on, I'm angry now, I'm jealous. How are they getting my stuff? That belongs to me, that's my that's my They don't know him like we do. And it's all make you jealous. I will allow you to see the Gentiles have what belongs to you. Now, on a side note, remember Yehoshua said, I can't give the kids bread, the kids meat. My children meat to the dogs when he's talking to the Syrophoenician woman. So he's still showing there's something that's specifically for you. Now, I'll share with other people that want it, and showing that they want it better than you do, but this was for you. This identity that you were born into was for you. This blood covenant that was made with your fathers and the Elohim of your fathers was for you. You need to have the eyes of understanding open as you find out who you are. In the movie, going back to the movie now, The Bourne Ultimatum, which was one of the movies out of the series, Jason Bourne's character was searching, and his searching brought him back to the place where it all started for him, when he got into the quote-unquote Treadstone program. This program was implemented to make nearly superhuman assassins to protect the American interests. This program was designed to break down the morality of the trainees, i.e. Jason Bourne is one of them, via behavior modification, and then train to make them ultimate weapons and / super spies. Treadstone's successor, Blackbriar, began doing genetic engineering of the new assassin model that they came out with. Now, I didn't want to go too deep in what the name Treadstone and Blackbriar means, all those other different things. This is just more so a teaching on the script, and then we add some different things in so you see how it's happening in real time. And a lot of these movies and shows and things that you watch, they just condition you. They're laughing and mocking you, showing you different things about you while entertaining you. Entertainment, again, just means entertainment for entry. So they're showing you, they're mocking you. They're like, I don't allow them to sleep. They're not going to see that we're making fun of them. They're not going to see that we're talking about them. So when you actually start coming into who you are and getting your identity, then you start looking at things and you start saying, hey, that's about us. Hey, they're making fun of us. Hey, they're talking about what's going to happen. Because a lot of stuff is dealing with the scripture that you call entertainment. Even in that satanic message of the type of music that they come out with now. Just a side note. Now, the Treadstone program, again, was implemented for the security and safety and to protect American interests. All they've done is made a lot of us assassins, mainly assassins killing each other, keeping us from knowing who we are, staying dead and decrepit. They love when we join gangs and we kill each other. They love when we sell drugs to each other that they gave to us. They love when we do child sacrifices, i.e. abortion, to the fallen deity Molech. They love that because that's protecting the American interests, because we don't know who we are. So as long as we don't know who we are, we're a defeated people. And what they fear us doing, we won't do. Because we don't know him, we don't know that we are his. Which is cry out, repent, and come back to him. They give you all these musicians now, or what they consider musicians. Nobody else plays instruments anymore. It's all electronic, which is another thing that they want to do. But I won't go into all that right now. You got all these quote-unquote mumble rappers now, little this, little that. Guys looking like girls, girls looking like guys. It's all about kill, 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 death, death, death. Money, 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 prosperity. It's almost like prosperity preaching in Christianity. And you don't know that they're actually dealing with demons and devils, which is praying over the masters of their music, the masters of their albums, before they send it out for you to buy and consume and get that spirit in you. Because again, music is the only thing that doesn't need your permission to get into you. And you willfully open up to that. So those, the entertainers, actors, all those can be considered basically assassins. People that have lost their identity and have taken on the identity that the system, the network of agencies, the hidden hand, whatever you want to call it, has done behavior modification upon them. That's why when you look at them, there's something different about them. You can tell they're off. There's a reason why Ye is saying stuff that he said. Now, I'm not going to beat the brother down. He's being down enough because he doesn't know what his identity is. And even that, in this timing, there's a reason why that's been done even in this timing. Because all it is deflection, because everybody's too busy talking about what an entertainer is saying. When you know that he's off, instead of seeing what's really going on around you, what's going on in this country, the laws that they're making, all these other different things, they throw stuff out to distract you. The old sleight of hand trick. And that's also behavior modification. Again, what do you think television programming is? Why is it a program? Unless it's to indoctrinate you with something, to modify your behavior. I was doing like Pavlov's the behaviorist type things that he was doing with the dogs and all that other stuff. They're making you salivate, and the thing isn't even there anymore, but they just, you hear that noise, you see something that you've been modified to actually go after, and you're doing what they want you to do, and the thing doesn't have to be there anymore. Are you with me? And then what do you think the GMOs are genetic? Look at most of the food labels, and you'll see it says genetic, made by genetic engineering or partially through genetic engineering. GMOs, genetically modified stuff. These things are killing people. These things are trying to change people's DNA. They're getting you to willfully consume it, to change your DNA. The vaccinations, the pills, the medicine, all these other different things, the big pharma, all those, they're making money off of you because what? It's to dumb you down. It's to make you more susceptible to being a robot. You lose yourself when you take in something that is not of God and which doesn't help you but hurts you. All those things are quote-unquote Treadstone programs / Blackbriar programs, if you will. The government was doing everything it could to silence the character known as Jason Bourne and to keep him from finding out his own identity because of the Black Ops dirty deeds that he knew about and that he participated in, that only a select few knew about. Because the thing is, if this thing gets out, it's just like roaches when you come home and turn the light. They scurry away, they jump off, they do all types of things to get away because what? You see us now. We work in darkness. I.e. Black Ops or Spec Ops, they work under the cloak of darkness. That's where they do some of the most best sweat work when nobody knows what's going on. And it's always done right in front of your eyes. Upon him getting back to where it all began, the place where it all started, when he got into the program, he found out his identity was by the name of Captain David Webb, which was his real identity. Captain, he was half rank, he was an officer in the military, and David Webb. When he was giving back his dog tags, what we call dog tags, which was basically just identifiers to identify who you are. Gives you blood type, gives you a religion if you have one, gives you your name, gives you social, all these other different things as identifiers of who you are, that you exist, and it traces back to even where you came from. In Ibri, or Hebrew, the name David, you should know, or Dawid is how we say it. It means beloved one. And when you look at King Dawid, a man after Yah's own heart, why? Because he was beloved. It's in his name, beloved one. And then when you look at the name Webb, which is of English origin, the name Webb means weaver. So Jason Bourne, you got one who healed Yah's salvation / healer, and one that lives by a stream, and then with the name David Webb, or Dawid Webb, I like to say in Hebrew, which means a beloved weaver. He remembered being told that upon his completion of the program that he had willfully went into, he would no longer be himself, which means he was willfully changing his identity, and that he might not remember himself either after that. Do you see the parallel with this character and also with us as Israel, our true Israel, willfully changing our identity by getting into the world's program? The character of the movie, he was told that he would be saving American lives, but was really made an assassin that was created to save the interests of the very people within this country. The small, select, certain group of people, not the whole country, just the powers that be. And that's what's also happening with us as true Israel in this country and the world abroad. We're being made as little assassins. We're being made as people that are going to protect their interests. And that's why you look at Ye, you look at Charles, right? You look at all these other different people. They will rather be the yes or no son and all the other type of stuff. Fight their own. Fight against people that's showing what our true identity is, because we got to protect their interests. A master, which basically really means burden, bondage. It wasn't that we couldn't say, our ancestors couldn't say master. They knew what they were saying, which was an Hebrew word. Master means burden, means bondage. Again, some of you already knew that, others didn't. But you should see the parallel. He was reminded of the last part of his training where he had to obediently kill someone that was placed before him. That person was bound and had a dark black bag placed over their head so you couldn't see who it was. And this was also to help with him not seeing that as a human being or seeing it as a person that deserves to live, but just made it like, you just almost like a video game in a sense. You don't see the face, you don't have anything to identify this as somebody, so you can go ahead and do what you do to them. And that also shows that why our oppressors do that to us. They look at us and they don't see us as they see us less than human. That's why they came up with the 3 fists of a man back in the day. Look at how they treat you now. You got an 80-year-old man trying to fight with one of our young Hebrew women, one of our Israelite women, Negro women. On camera, you got cops killing us. On camera. The only thing that changes is that they just got cameras showing it, but it's still the same result. We get killed, they get off. They look at your child and they see it as tissue and organs instead of seeing that this is a human being, a baby that deserves love, not deserve to be aborted and taken and broken up so they can piece out their body parts and make lots of money off of it. But they don't identify you as anything because you've lost your identity. You with me? We're almost done. So when they put that person before him, so that was his last act he had to do before he could graduate, this was how he would give a sacrifice. When you look at that killing, I saw that it was a sacrifice. Somebody just saw him murking this guy in a chair. bound a bag over his head, but I saw spiritually it was a sacrifice. He was given that as his sacrifice to the program, to get into the program. During that sacrifice, he was reminded that he chose them. He chose the program, and that he needed to let himself, David, who he is, his identity, go. And after he gave the sacrifice, after he killed the man, or murked the man, if you will, he no longer was himself and was given a new identity by the program, by them. And that stuck with me. The fact that he had to offer them a sacrifice to get in. Satan is the Puffy, P. Diddy, whatever you want to call it, of the spiritual world. He doesn't originate, he just samples. And Satan, or Hasatan as we know him, he knows that Yah looked for a sacrifice from his people. The ultimate sacrifice came through his son, Yahushua Mashiach. But then we were also told to present our bodies, present ourselves, a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto Yah, which is our reasonable service, i.e., which is our job. And so he knows that Yah requires a sacrifice of his people. And so Satan says, well, I want to sacrifice too. What do you think the quote-unquote blood sacrifices are? What do you think selling your soul is? What do you think all these different things that people do to get into his program so that they can get wealth or fame or whatever they want, which all it really results to is a happy meal or toy, just like Ye said. Think about that. Anytime that you go off what Yah has set for you, and you won't give yourself as a sacrifice to him, and instead give yourself as a sacrifice to Satan, the things of Satan, or things that pertain to you, you give the sacrifices to him, you lose yourself, Israel. You lose your identity. You lose your abiyah. Again, Satan also requires a sacrifice. Why do you think we are where we are? A lot of our ancestors sacrificed their children. A lot of our ancestors sacrificed their property, did the Asherah groves and all these other different things on Yah's land, around by Yah's temple, and had these teraphim or these false idols and all these other different things. When he's done all what he's done for us. And you think that you're just going to sacrifice to something else, you're going to cheat on him, and you're not going to reap the repercussions? Because we didn't want to stay in our identity, we gave our identity up, he said stay there. And oh, by the way, get into captivity. You have to look at yourself and say, what am I sacrificing? And who am I sacrificing to? What am I trying to get into? Or what am I trying to stay a part of? Through the sacrifice I'm giving. And again, who am I trying to be a part of? Who am I trying to stay with by what I sacrifice? Because you're sacrificing something. And you're sacrificing to someone. The question is, what is it and who is it to? As true Israel, our ancestors entered into the program of the Gentiles / heathens, pagans, people that don't know Yah and don't have Yah as their Elohim, willfully giving up our identity to become something else rather than be what Yah made us to be. Our ancestors and us today offered sacrifices to Hasatan's programs, which brought us into captivity again. We still have many assassins still in that program. You know them again, as I said, as leaders, entertainers, actors, and so on and so forth, still carrying out the program hits to protect the lives of all who do evil and are heathens in this country. So basically they do the hits for the heathens. Some knowingly, some unbeknownst to them of what they're doing. You're murking your people, you're assassinating your people, you're assassinating the character of your people, and you're continuing to make your people look like they are less than, so people can continue to do what they do to them and look at them the way they look at them. All while you're getting paid, all while you're getting the jewelry all in your mouth, all while you got these nice houses and vehicles and all that stuff, which you're not going to have when you die, because they always make sure that they get all that stuff back from you. And the Israelites / Negro always die broke. They're going to come for you. Especially if you step out of line. But remember that. Don't get a part of his program. They do this to us abroad because we are not living / walking in our identity as the chosen. And being chosen is more than just saying, I was chosen. I'm a child of Yah. I know I'm an Israelite. And still living like you're a heathen Betty Crocker spiritually. Don't say you're chosen when you're not doing what the chosen is called to do. When you're not following the chosen identity. You're not walking in it. Don't say you're chosen. Because you basically just like a heathen. Jason Bourne's character continued to ask the one who programmed him, why did you choose me? And he was reminded, he was told, remember, we didn't pick you. You picked us. Even after you were warned. And that stuck with me. That line stuck with me. Remember, we didn't pick you. You picked us. Even after we warned you. The world didn't pick us. We picked it. All those false idols and deities and ideologies and all the other stuff, it didn't pick us. We, and I'm talking to my people, true Israel, the Negroes all across the world, we picked it. We picked those things. Sin and disobedience didn't pick us. We picked it in the form of a piece of fruit off the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. We picked it. We chose it. We ate it. We consumed it. We became one with it. Even after we were warned. And there was always a warning given, so we can't say I didn't know. When I got in trouble, first thing I was told was you knew. So I couldn't say I didn't know. It's like you knew. And that shut everything else down after that. Even after we were warned, Israel, we still picked the world. And that's why we're in the captivity even to this day. We picked the world and the things of the enemy from the time we left the first Mitzrayim. Remember that? Golden Calf experience again, if you will. Always crying and complaining. We hungry. You sent us out here to die. We thirsty. You sent us out here to die. All that mess. Even up till today's captivity and final. Hallelujah. Thank you for that final captivity, because those of us that endure, we're going home. We're going to go into the wilderness first to get rid of the rebels and the people that don't want to follow Yah and be obedient to Him. Just like our ancestors had to deal with the 40 years. Now, I ain't saying that it's going to be 40 years for us. It's going to be until Yah clears out all the rebels. Then we get to go back. We get to go home. Study war no more. And the world will be at peace, because those people who are also, it's funny that we are the identifier / time clock for the world in prophecy, not the imposter. Because if the imposter was truly it, all the stuff the scripture said was going to happen during that time would have already happened. It's being fulfilled in us because we are the identifier, i.e. time clock. And they know it. That's why they're watching us. They watching me, what I'm doing right now, and other people like me. Because they know. And they don't know as much as they want you to think they know. That's why they look and listen to us to see what we're saying and take that back and study that and then try to shut up some of us to keep it from getting out. But Yah can't be stopped. Yah always wins every time. Again, those things didn't choose us. We chose them. The people of the world didn't choose us. We chose them. They didn't choose us because they fear us. They hate us. They want us dead, because with us being dead, they can keep what doesn't belong to them. They don't have to be convicted with the truth. Remember the false prophet Balaam? When King Balak was like, well, curse them. I can't curse these people. Y'all won't let me curse them. Nobody can curse these people. The only way that they will be cursed is they have to choose the curse. They got to pick it up. And the enemy knows that, so the enemy continues to put things that will curse us in the way. Come on, pig meat. Come on, pork. That poke meat, as they say. That was the number one thing that they fed our people in captivity or during slavery. Legalized slavery. Now they just do the institutionalized stuff. But that's the main thing they gave you. Chitlins, i.e. chitterlings. Stomach line with all the mess, the intestines. Fat back. Salt pork. Pig ears, tongue, hooves, all that stuff. Bacon. They gave you more of that than they gave you at a barnyard pimp, i.e. chicken. Because they realize as long as you keep on eating these things that are going to kill you physically and spiritually because it's against Torah and what y'all said for your diet, stay cursed. As long as we can get sexual promiscuity into you and all these other different things by what we did to you and start getting you to like that, as long as we can do the sex farms and have you become fornicators and adulterers and incestuous and all these other different things, stay cursed. Get that good old fire water in you. Get you alcoholic. Make you stop taking responsibility for your family, for yourself, all those different things. Keep you from knowing that this is your book. Keep you from reading it. Keep you from reading because the thing is they know you are very intelligible people. And so the same thing they do to us here, they do to our brothers and sisters that's on the dark continent that is called Africa and abroad. They try to keep you from learning. And if they can't keep you from learning, they try to keep you from actually excelling with what you've learned because they know about you. You don't know about you. Again, they know about your identity and you don't. That's another way they keep you down. That's another chain. That's another bondage for you, not knowing who you are. Again, they won't pick you because they know who you are. They need you to pick them and pick the things of them to keep you bound, keep you cursed, keep you from being in your true identity. They want to keep you from the realization. Make you think that you're quote-unquote Jason Bourne when you're not. They want you to think that you're someone else when you're not. And when you choose them, you will always become who you were never meant to be. I hope that spoke to someone because that spoke to me. I hear somebody got it. The character again was told that he had to come to the realization that he chose to become Jason Bourne. He had to take the realization or take the responsibility for the fact that he chose to be something else other than what he was. He chose it. And then upon being told that, he replied in the movie, I'm no longer Jason Bourne. I'm no longer this other image, this false thing. I'm no longer in falsehood. I know who I am now. And when he said, I'm no longer that, he took back his true identity. When we as Israelites say that I'm no longer the things of this world, I'm no longer all these things that they said, and we do what verse 9 says, and we remember ourselves, our identity in the faraway places that we were scattered to, that he sold us across, we get our identity back. And we no longer answer to a name that was never ours. After fleeing to the rooftop in the movie, we're still in there, we're almost done with it because we're basically showing you even in the movie that still goes with the scripture. After fleeing the rooftop, he jumped while being shot at and fell 10 stories into a large body of water. And it's not a coincidence that all this was taking place and where he got into the program in a CIA building in New York of all places. And if you understand history and have studied some things, you realize that New York, where stocks and bonds originated, came from us being sold into slavery in stocks and bonds. That's how stocks and bonds got its name and was basically about us being sold before they started selling gold and silver and wheat and wine and all that other stuff. We were the commodity that was being sold. So is that a coincidence? I think not. The number 10 symbolizes, again, as I told people of fortified spirit, the number 10 signifies or symbolizes testimony, law, responsibility to the law, and completion of the law. The number 10 again symbolizes testimony, law, responsibility to the law, and the completeness of the law. By him gaining his identity and fleeing the false identity and the program that gave him the false identity, he gave his sacrifice by following/falling 10 stories to represent his testimony, his responsibility and completion of who he is, i.e. his identity. It was revealed that after searching 3 days, and the number 3 symbolizes completeness, for his body, they couldn't find it and called off the search. Now remember how the Mashiach, he was dead 3 days, 3 nights in the tomb, right? 3rd day, could they find his body? They searched, couldn't find his body. He said that we would follow suit. We would follow just as Yahushua did, by dying and being resurrected to receive a glorified body. Write down and read Romans chapter 6, verse 1 through 10. Read the whole chapter. Make sure you get an understanding, because you're going to see where it said that you're saying you don't have to, you're under grace now and all that stuff. And you're going to think that what organized religion says, that means that we ain't got to follow the law no more. It don't mean that. You're under grace, which means for us, the Hebrew kin, which is protection. You're in the house, they always say in the house, by following Torah. So now you're under protection instead of being under Torah, meaning that now, again, I'll put it like this. When you go to the court and the judge is basically throwing the book at the perpetrator that's broken the law, what does he say? Under the law, under statute, such and such, 10, 13, blah, 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 and all the power that's given to me, under the law, I sentence you to whatever time you get, all right? They just throw the book at them. When you don't follow the laws, then you become oppressed, or you get put under that law, which means now you're going to get judged. But when you follow in Torah, you're under grace, which means I'm protected, because I'm following what he says, if you will. I had to go through that because I know that somebody's going to read it and say, well, that means that I don't have to do what Torah says. What was Yahushua when he's walking earth? What was he following? What was Father Abraham and all them following before Moshe was given the 10 wedding vows, known as 10 commandments, and all the law, statutes, and commandments? They were still following Torah, so don't be cute. Mashiach said, I did not come to do away with it, just to fulfill it. Which means that you don't sacrifice animals anymore. Owls often been sacrificed. You don't automatically get the judgment of execution because you committed adultery and all these other different things. You can repent. Now, if you keep on doing those things, then you judge yourself by not following it, and then that's when you come under it. But I fulfilled it by that you don't die for things that you would have had to die for during that time. You don't have to die for those no more. You can repent and live. You still got to pay for it. Still got to be judged for it. You reap what you sow, but you won't have to. It won't be unto death. Okay, so I had to throw that out there just to make sure you don't try to run with it and say, oh, well, I read it. This is what it means. Get your understanding. With all I getting, get understanding. We must come back to remembrance of our true born identity as Israelites. Some of us have changed our names physically, wanting to be called by Ibri or Hebrew names, and some of us have changed our names spiritually, wanting to be called by what Yah calls us. The rest want to stay in false identity given to them by the program. Now, I'm not really saying you got to change your name. I'm waiting for Yah to give me what my name is. I'm not going to do it on my own. You have some people that have been given the way they want to do it. I'm not. If that's what you want to do, do it. At least you got one of your Ibri names, instead of being called by the stuff that we got through our oppressor. But there's those that just say, you know what, I don't care. I ain't Hebrew, I ain't Ibri, I ain't an Israelite. I'm going to be what I was taught that I am. And even though I see that there's cracks and potholes in what I was taught, I'm going to hold fast to that. Hold fast to the faith, even when it's false faith. And you won't come into the understanding of who you are. And you won't come into the blessings. You won't come into the inheritance that's meant for you. Because you don't want to step into your identity. You want to stay in the world's program. Verses 10 through 11 in the scripture that we read shows Yah bringing his people, i.e. us, out of Ashur, which is Assyria, and Mitzrayim, the second Mitzrayim, which is also still bondage and oppression. Is it coincidental what's happening in Syria, which is just modern day Assyria? Is it coincidence what's happening to them? Everybody that did what they did to us has to pay. And now it's the Assyria's time because of what they did to our brothers and sisters from the 10 northern tribes, or the kingdom of Israel, the northern kingdom. Did all men is evil to them. They got to pay for that. Those that took into captivity will go into captivity. Those who kill with the sword will die by the sword. Is it a coincidence that a lot of them are refugees now? All across the world? Is it a coincidence that nobody's really coming to try to help them? Is it a coincidence that things are being covered up that's happening to them? And oh, by the way, they, in their libraries, they actually had the truth about who we are as well, the depictions, and they have their icons and all that other stuff that shows what the true Israelites look like. So I'm sure that's also the reason why they're trying to bomb the mess out of them too, to destroy evidence. Because a murderer, a good murderer, always has to make sure that they destroy the evidence of the person that they murdered to mess up the identity. You just had to throw that out there. Mitzrayim, we already know that this country is the second Mitzrayim, and it's also Mystery Babylon. So he's going to bring us out of Mitzrayim, the second one, and he's going to bring us out of Ashur or Assyria, are the places, everything that happened to the north, basically the 10 northern tribes. He's going to bring them from where Assyria took them to. And he's going to bring us out of Mitzrayim. He's going to bring us back to Gilead and back to Lebanon, which, by the way, are parts of our ancestral territory. And he's going to bring us back there till there's basically no room, no more room. Yah will pass through the waters and make them dry up. He will bring the pride / arrogancy of Ashur or Assyria down, and the authority of Mitzrayim will be taken away from them. Now, I was listening to one of my fellow brothers in this walk, and in some ways I kind of feel his sentiment as well. I feel sorry for what's happening to them jokers right now. Even though they got to pay for what they did to my people, they're having to deal with the sins of their fathers. Just like the jokers in this country. Well, I didn't do it. That was my answer. I shouldn't have to pay for it. It's like, we paying for what our fathers did. Going on 400 years just in this country alone next year. So, if we paying for what I was there when they did what they did. But I'm paying for it today. So, I don't want to hear that. You're going to pay for what your people did to my people. Or else Yah wouldn't be true. Yah wouldn't be just. His word is true. Again, let Yah be true. Every man else alive. Thank you for saying that. Those that said it. Again, we see that he's going to take them. He's going to bring us back. And we're going to get to go back to our ancestral territory. If you look in chapters, and I'm not going to go there, but just look in chapters 9 through 11 of Romans, we see Israel's rejection of Mashiach, and there's still a whole bunch of us that reject him today, and rejection of Yah. And we also see Yah's judgment upon us for that rejection. Then we also see our current condition that's toward the end of chapter 9 of Romans. And it's funny that the current condition that they were dealing with then as the time was being wrote was also the current condition that we were going to be in to this day until he returns our captivity. So again, if you ain't going by what the scripture says Israel's supposed to look like and where they're supposed to be at, you're an imposter, baby. You're a lie and the truth ain't in you. Then it also shows our need for the good news. It also shows our rejection of the good news and rejection of Yah. But then it also shows that Yah's rejection of us is not total or final. And in Romans chapter 11, verse 7 through 10, and matter of fact, let me go to that real quick. We're about to wind it up. Stick with me a little bit longer. And those that are still with me right now and those that will stick this far into watching the recording, I appreciate you. Romans 11, 7 through 10. What then? Israel has not obtained what it seeks, but the chosen did obtain it, and the rest were hardened. As it has been written, Yahweh has given them a spirit of deep sleep, eyes not to see and ears not to hear until this day. David also said, let their table become for a snare and for a trap and for a stumbling block and a recompense to them. Let their eyes be darkened, not to see, and bow down their back always. We see Israel has not gotten what it seeks except those people that are elect, when he's opened up their eyes to see because they deserve it. And again, it reiterates why we lost our identity, quoting from the original covenant side. Look at that again. Yeshayahu or Isaiah 29, verse 10, and also chapter 6, verse 9. And then you look in Tehillim or Psalms 69, verses 22 through 23 to see that. It's time to wake up and seek your true born identity. Remember who you are by truly remembering who Yah is to you. Israelite person, I'm talking to you. And also for the Grafton, you can get some of this too, but this is strictly, specifically for the Israelite because we're the ones that's lost our identity. You know who you are. How can you fully teach the world about him, Israelite, when you don't know who you are? And your identity is based on knowing who your Abba Yah is. The only ones that will be recipients of what verse 12 says, and let's look at verse 12 again real quick in our main book for tonight. And I shall make them mighty in Yahweh so that they walk up and down in his name, declares Yahweh. You're not going to be able to do that if you don't know who you are. You're not going to be a recipient of that if you don't know who you are and you don't start living in who you are and being who Yah purposed you to be as his chosen. Again, our enemies / world network of agencies, spiritually and physically, are doing everything they can to keep us from finding out who we are. Because of the light that we will shed on the world about these covert black spec ops going on all around that nobody's aware of, spiritually or physically. Search, remember, repent, and return to your identity. And Yah will make you mighty in him, as verse 12 says, so that you walk up and down in his name as he has declared. He declared, I didn't declare it. None of the other Moravians declared, all the other people, Yah declared that. We just saying what he declared, his declaration that he gave to us when we remember our identity and we come back to him. Hear, O Yisrael. Hear today. Get this in your spirit, get this in your heart, get this in your mind. You need to start remembering and getting all the identity information that you can, because one day, and I believe it's going to be soon. Soon will be 2 years, 3 years. Who knows? Soon is going to come quickly. You're not going to have access. They're going to shut the internet. They're going to shut all different types of things down. They might start trying to steal Bibles, all these other different things that are to come. I'm warning you. It's not to make you afraid, because the thing is, we who've been waiting, we are glad for these things to happen. It has to happen. Mashiach said it's got to happen before he comes. It's got to happen before salvation comes. And a lot of these things are going to make you wake up, Israelite. A lot of these things are going to make the grafted in wake up and realize that they were following a false doctrine. Or a doctrine that wasn't giving everything they need, just like our Israelite brothers and sisters that's in these places, that's been taught by Gentile theology and ideology. You know, the best thing to make you wake up is the fire. When you feel that heat, you'll wake up. Wake up. Stop being the world's Jason Bourne. And know who you are. And again, they were being funny. They know because even with the name, they changed the character's name to something else. It was still a good thing, and it was still doing with y'all. But it's like we're gonna change that, and they still ain't gonna know. They're still not gonna know their purpose. They're still just gonna be a robot, an assassin, a tool, an instrument for us to continue living off of them, to continue being protected. Because as long as they don't know who they are, they can't cry to him, and he won't hear them. The Bourne Identity. Remember yourself. Remember y'all. Bourne Identity. Shalom.